Hi, Julie.
Hello.
How lovely to have you with me this evening.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So I just want to introduce you. So this evening I have the lovely Juli Moran, who's a wedding and funeral celebrant, who's based in the Southwest, who's joining me from my conversation around grief. Julie, I just wanted to ask you right at the beginning. I've attended several celebrant funerals in the past, and I've been moved by every one. However, there may be some people watching who've never attended one. So in your experience, coming from your point of view, how is it different? What could people expect from a service with you?
Okay, well, my role as a celebrant is to create a ceremony that's for the person who has died and make it unique to that person. So there's no templates, it's all, the ceremony is written completely for them. And I like to include the family as much as possible. The person may have religious beliefs, so we can bring those into the ceremony. Or if they're not religious, then we can bring all different kinds of poems or readings. Music, I help people to choose the music as well. And it's really about creating a ceremony that's for them. And I support people along the way. If there's any speakers at the funeral, I will support them and coach them into how they might like to speak. And also it's about being a reassuring and calming presence on the day of the funeral. So I arrive there early and I welcome any people that are there, any mourners, and I point them to where things are. And burials, cremations, I will just always be there as a reassuring presence.
Oh, I love that. I haven't witnessed any of yours, but I just know that you'd be extremely good at it, and I feel completely relaxed, and I feel the support coming through just with the interview. It's only the second time we've ever met, so I feel that really strongly. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, like in my work, but yours is very different. We work in the area, of course, of grief, of death. And at times people often say to me, it can get quite heavy. And the way that I would explain that, I suppose, is emotionally, our energy can be drained at times, particularly if we've been very busy or it's been a difficult funeral or death. So what do you do to switch off? What do you do that enables you to take time out, if you like?
Well, for myself, I find it really important to take time out, and I've trained myself to do that quite well, so I am really good at it. At first I didn't really get it, and I was working and didn't know how to kind of leave the funeral where it was and then come home, and it not to affect my personal life, my home life. And I found I would be thinking about that funeral or that person or that bereaved family, and my heart would go out to them. And so I've learned now that, you know, I'll still give 100% to each bereaved family, of course. That goes without saying during COVID or whatever. But for me, everybody's different, but for me, I do yoga. So I do my own practice 3 or 4 times, usually 4 times a week, never at weekends, because I like to have a bit of a break from that and then come back to it and really enjoy it. A bit creaky. And I love to swim. So I don't like chlorinated water as such, but I will go to the swimming pool, especially in winter. And I'm lucky enough to have a saltwater swimming pool here in Dorset, which is brilliant.
Oh, you are lucky.
Yeah, it's great. And then I love going to the river, the local river, and I'll have a quick dip in there, or go to the sea if it's
Sounds
calm.
idyllic. Oh my goodness me. God.
So it's nature really, Dawn. If I'm out in nature, I really love going for walks, river or sea dips, and my yoga, that's my
Wonderful.
go-to place
Yeah,
where
and
I feel calm.
yeah, and it feeds your soul. I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
one of the things I find about the work that I do, like you said, really, Julie, sometimes it's difficult to leave it behind. And also, like you, right at the beginning, I mean, I'm in my 6th year now, but right at the beginning, I remember sort of thinking about people afterwards, and then once they'd finished my program, will they be okay? Do I need to be there to reach out? And you know, I have always done that, but because my program is 8 sessions and it's very structured, thank God they rarely need me, because it isn't therapy what I do, it isn't counselling, it's an educational loss supporting program. And so they have this emotional resilience that they build upon for always. So, you know, I'm doing a really good job if they don't come back. But I did used to sort of worry a little bit about them and think, I do hope they'll be okay. And I found it difficult to switch off. But I recognise that with the lockdown in particular, I tend to the garden, and we've only been in this house and garden sort of 2 years, so it was a blank canvas. And for the first time ever, I grew vegetables. I have a vegetable patch or 2 raised beds, and oh my God, I was addicted to it. It was lovely. It was really lovely. And that joy for me of seeing something like a cauliflower come up, which initially I thought was a cabbage. And then one day this massive leafed thing had a tiny white centre that grew and grew. And it was joyous. And picking my courgettes that became marrows because I didn't know how to pick them small. And oh, it was lovely. And I turned to that more when I was at my most busy. So I get that, and for me also, I draw a lot, and so pre-COVID, we would travel more, and I'd have my sketchbook and pens in my bag, and that was a delightful release as well, because I engaged in the creative. It hasn't happened so much, but I do think it's really important for you and for anybody that works in the field where we're supporting people who are bereaved, or people who are dying, or people who are really struggling in those areas. I think it's really important that we do feed our soul and we do take time out, because then we are able to go back at 100%.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think if we take time out for ourselves, it is about recharging our batteries. We wouldn't let our phone battery die down, you know, to zilch. So we've just got to keep topping ourselves up with whatever works for us, so we can come back and give what we need to help other people, you know.
Wonderfully said. Excuse me. Okay, so another thing I've got here, and I'm really excited to hear what you're going to say about this, is do you have any tips on writing a eulogy? So I personally haven't got a clue. I've been to many types of funerals, celebrant funerals as well as the more religious. And some of them, I've always known the person, and they really bring them to life. The good, the bad, and the ugly. They really do. Now, if anybody is struggling and they're watching this, is there any tips you could give, or anything that you think is the basis of what a eulogy can be, in your experience?
Well, I would say that too many dates and too many places in repetition can get a little bit, well, people's attention span might not be clear.
Yes, I switch off.
So I think the best type of eulogy is something that brings the essence of that person into the space of where we all are. For example, my dad died a few years ago, and I wrote the eulogy for that. no, all the people there knew everything about him anyway, where he was born, what he worked as a coal miner up north, you know, everybody knew that, and very proud of it too.
Yes.
So what I wanted to do was to create a picture in people's mind of who my dad was. So you could start things like, you might remember the person with a checked big fluffy shirt,
yes,
or
I've got
a
it
hat
straight away.
that they used to wear, you know, that.
Oh, delightful.
So yeah, it's like a story. It's really nice to create an
visual
image. Yeah, and I like that. And things, where was their happy place? Where were they at their happiest?
You're getting me quite emotional, actually.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. No, this is good. I can feel my eyes filling up. Only because I didn't realise this evening that we share a friendship of a dear lady who's no longer here, and a really dear friend of mine. And when you're talking about, you know, the shirt, but that wasn't her, that wasn't Melanie. But I'm going straight to her phenomenal sense of dress. I'm going to the hair, the multicoloured hair. I'm going to her voice. I'm just going to so many things. And I think that was included in her service and eulogy, massively so, but maybe not in many others. And I just love what you've said, because it's affected me in a good way, and it's connected me to my memory, which that's very powerful, Julie.
Yeah, well, we're bringing that person into that space and remembering them with, well, sometimes it's with love, and sometimes it's just we're remembering them. Sometimes there isn't love there between us and the person who's died, you know, but it's about bringing them into that space and creating stories, creating memories, whatever that person loved. What did they like to do in life? What were their hobbies? What did they read? What did they like listening to on the radio? What made them laugh? What made them cry, you know? Really
you're good. You're very good.
I hope so. I've been doing it 10 years.
I want to book you for mine. Oh my goodness me.
Your book, yeah. Okay, I'll do yours.
Yes, please.
Not for a long time, hopefully.
Oh no, God willing, but gosh, you've really moved me. Really moved me. That's just amazing. Which maybe brings me nicely onto my contribution for our mutual friend's eulogy. So people who are listening, watching may not know. Some people may, and some of your friends may know. But we shared a friendship with the most wonderful young woman called Melanie. And I actually lived with Melanie. We both left home together and shared a house in Hereford when we were 17. And I remember sitting in, oh gosh, I remember sitting in High Town in Hereford on a bench, and she came over and she'd seen me dancing and whatever in the pubs. And she just came over to me and she said something like, you know, hi, my name's Mel. I said, my name's Dawn. And then you know, do you fancy coming out dancing, whatever it was? And we did. And then I think by the end of a week, she said, do you fancy moving out of home and sharing a house together? Which we did at the age of 17. Oh, it was such special times, such special times. So anyway, this is what I wrote as my contribution to the eulogy that was read at Melanie's funeral. So it goes something like this. It's called Friendship. So Mal and I had a friendship that came and went and came back again. We frequently dipped in and out of each other's lives. Sometimes years would fly by without more than a coffee shared, a dinner time catch-up grabbed in a short lunch break, or an evening bop at someone's party. Each and every time, despite the months or years apart, we always seemed to pick up where we'd earlier left off. It was never difficult, never awkward, just fabulously natural. Being with Mel always felt right. Time spent in her company was never long enough. It was like she was my most loved favourite jumper. The one that I had wonderful memories in, that still fitted, but occasionally it found its way to the back of the drawer. A colourful, soft and warm jumper that every time I was lucky enough to come across it, I'd cherish it all over again. I was unbelievably privileged to spend so much time with Mel over the last few months. So this was when she was dying. My favourite much loved jumper was found again, and this time I never took it off. It still makes me cry now. But I think it kind of sums up a little what you said. I feel when I'm reading it, I felt when I was writing it, that it said it all really. And it was really special. And there were so many amazing contributions to her eulogy. Yeah, it was just a phenomenal funeral. Devastatingly sad, but equally very beautiful. So thank you for letting me read that.
Well, it's interesting to hear that, because the last time I saw Mel, we were dancing together.
Oh, were you?
We love dancing together.
Yes.
So that's really nice to hear the poem and about dancing.
Wow.
But what I liked about the idea of the tribute where Mel's funeral is that lots of people contributed. So that is another option where it doesn't have to be one person saying all these things. One person could be the speaker, or I as the celebrant can speak on people's behalf, and they can bring whatever they want to that eulogy. It can bring their poem, it can be their little memory of when they went to see that person, what they did together, or what they remember, the cooking, you know, the reading stories, the going out for walks. You can bring anything to the eulogy and make it more interesting.
Oh, amazing. No, amazing. I mean, yes, it's emotional, but it's just, I think it's a gift.
It's connection.
It is. And I
think that's what it is. It's about
so
connecting.
Strong. It's so strong. Oh my goodness. So that leaves me nicely in a way, because Melanie was enormously loved. Oh my goodness. You know, by her husband and her children, and extended family and friends and work colleagues and so many people. But sometimes the person that dies, you can have a less than loving relationship with.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just wanted to, this, I'm very aware of this because I help a lot of people with their grief. And I talk a lot about loss. And as I was explaining to a gentleman a complete stranger that I met this afternoon, I think a lot of people assume that loss is something that we once had and no longer have. So obviously if there's, in the case of a relationship or a person, they're no longer here. But it's so much more than that. But it's also a loss of what you never had, but should have had or wished you'd have had. And it's incomprehensible for many people to imagine a less than loving mother or father, or husband or wife, but it does happen. So when I was talking to this gentleman earlier, he was telling me, he asked me what I did, and then I stopped talking and I had my work head on. And he said, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel when my very elderly mother dies. And so I said to him, is it a less than loving relationship? And he said, yes, always has been since I was a young boy. And he said, I don't know whether I'm going to feel relief when she's died, or am I going to feel angry? And so I said, well, I can't give you an answer to that. But then I went on to explain about this loss of, you know, what you should have had and didn't have. And he said it made so much sense. And then I thought to myself, well, what sort of funeral service do you have when that's the case? And I know that this is quite relevant to you for last week. Would you like to share?
Yeah. Well, I had a really tough week last week. I took 4 funerals. I've got 2 this week. so it feels quite relaxed really this week, but last week was busy, and one of them was a funeral of a woman. Obviously I'm not going to go into detail.
No, please don't, absolutely not.
But
Confidentiality, please.
Her son came to me and said she had a very, very difficult life, and his mother, there was, I think the politest way of saying it is, there was no love lost between them.
Sure.
And they didn't really have much of a relationship. It wasn't healthy.
No.
They didn't have any contact with one another. He left home as soon as he could. And he didn't really want a funeral service, but he felt that he should.
Sure.
No, I'm not very good with that word, should.
Nor me. I don't think it should exist. But for some people, it's duty or an obligation. But I agree with you. I don't like should. But
yeah, too much pressure.
Oh yeah, massively so.
So the kind of funeral service that I would suggest for somebody who is going to be at the funeral of a person who they really didn't get on with is that, you know, you can choose music that you want, that you like. It could be, you know, 2 or 3 pieces of music that you really, I don't know, it's going to be uncomfortable being there. It could be awkward in some way. So how do we make that easier to actually be there? So you could have poems that you like, you could have music you like. And the most important thing is you don't have to have a eulogy. No. Just because everybody does,
doesn't mean say you
maybe you could not have a eulogy. Maybe you could have a piece of music instead.
So it's completely open and inclusive and individual. It's what you want and you feel that you need, or that's fantastic, isn't it? Gosh.
It's whatever you need it to be. I think it's about being comfortable, and I always suggest to people, how about this, or how about, you know, I've got loads of poems, I've got loads of musical ideas. We could make it whatever that person needs it to be at that time. So,
gosh, that's fantastic. I mean, I probably would have gone down the road of thinking it has to be done. And it's wonderful to know that it's not compulsory. You don't need to have it if you don't want it, because if the thought of having a eulogy makes you freeze and you think, oh my God, stress, and you're really worried about it, then obviously it's not a good thing. So if you can leave it out, leave it out.
Well, the funeral is about saying goodbye.
Yes.
And we can say goodbye in an honourable and respectful way.
Yes.
And we can make it so.
Wow. Oh, Julie, you've moved me to tears. You've absolutely inspired me. So I think that's probably a wrap, as they say. But what I would like to say before I close is, if anybody wants to get in touch, where can they find you? Do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook page, etc.? If you could share that if you want to, and then I'll wrap up at the end.
Okay. Well, I've been a funeral celebrant for 10 years, and I trained with Green Fuse, who are in Devon. Brilliant firm, just amazing company, family run. And only last year I got a website together because I've been so busy. Wow. So I finally got a really good website, and it's called Soulshine Ceremonies. So you can find me, just Google Soulshine Ceremonies UK and it'll be there. And there's links to Instagram and Facebook on there.
Oh, what a wonderful name. Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Oh. So what I wanted to say was thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom. Thank you for what you do. The service that you provide, and the comfort you'll bring to so many people, and you've brought to so many people.
Oh.
I just think what you do is incredible. I do want to book you for mine. And I'm serious about that. If you can get to Hereford, I just think, wow, if people could meet somebody like you and there's a connection, I just think it makes what is the most, at times can be the most devastating, emotionally traumatic thing, bearable, more than bearable, with this wonderful gift that you have, particularly in the way that you talked about maybe eulogy writing, or including a poem or a song, but that eulogy writing may, you know, well, he had his favorite shirt and he wore this hat, and did you know that his whatever or hers whatever, that's their favorite. That just really delighted me. I thought that was incredible. I was very moved by that, very moved by that. So thank you so much for your time. And I really hope that we get to connect again and have a lovely cup of cocoa now.
Thank you.
And I shall continue to drink my tea.
Oh, well, it's been lovely to meet you, Dawn. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right.
Connect again soon.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye,
Bye, Dawn.
Bye.